Away from elections, the Gulf of Guinea is the world's hotspot for maritime piracy. Over the last 15 years, container ships, fishing vessels, and oil tankers in the region have been the target of numerous armed attacks and kidnappings. Of the 90 global piracy and armed robbery incidents reported between January and September 2022, 13 have occurred in the Gulf of Guinea region, compared to 27 over the same period in 2021. Spearheaded by Ghana and Norway, the United Nations Security Council expresses deep concern about the grave and persistent threat posed by piracy and transnational organized crime in the Gulf of Guinea. Today at the Jubilee House, President Akufo-Addo is hosting other African heads of the Gulf region to strategize on the best way forward. Presidential correspondent Elton Brobe joins me with more. Elton, what exactly will be the purpose of this conference and which heads of state are present?
So we have 15 of them so far. A while ago, the Nigeria president came in together with other African heads of state. So these are countries that have access to the Gulf of Guinea. And they are currently in a meeting with President Akufo-Addo before all of them will walk to a banquet hall, the Jubilee House, for the event itself to start. Now, this is in response to a UN resolution that was passed in 2022 demanding action from countries that borders the Gulf of Guinea. Now, a brief, the resolution of the UN, I can just share some with you. The resolution says that bordering 20 countries on over 6,000 kilometers of coastline, the Gulf of Guinea is a key shipping route for the region that relies heavily on import. Now, this is why the cost of piracy weighs so heavily on the economic and trade potential, with direct and indirect costs estimated at $1.9 billion US annually for the 12 Gulf of Guinea countries. And the resolution again passed by the UN Security Council unanimously adopted a text calling upon member states in the Gulf of Guinea region to criminalize piracy and armed robbery at sea under their domestic laws and to investigate, prosecute, extradite in accordance with applicable international laws perpetrators of such crimes, as well as those who incite, finance, or intentionally facilitate them. The resolution 3624 issued as a document, the 15 nations organs also urge member states in the region of the Gulf of Guinea to take prompt action at national and regional levels with the support of international community when requested by the state concerned. Ghana's representative at the UN Security Council, Harold Ajiman, speaking also for Norway, observed that it had been 10 years since the Council adopted its last resolution on maritime piracy and armed robbery in the Gulf of Guinea, and he calls the Security Council resolution. Today, the region remains a global hotspot for piracy, which in turn poses a challenge to the entire world, citing piracy's deep ties in terrorism and the troubling return of coup d'etat in the region. So, Bernice, today is very crucial, especially for countries, the 12 countries that have access to the Gulf of Guinea. We are talking about 6,000 kilometers of coastline. The meeting today has one major decision: to evaluate what is happening, come out with a solution, strategies to combat piracy, especially on the Gulf of Guinea, because those who ship goods through the Gulf of Guinea are complaining that they've been attacked, there have been armed robberies, there have been kidnapping, and sometimes they ask for ransom. And so if those who are direct beneficiaries of the shipping lines do not take action to deal with this matter, in the long run, the shipping lines may take action that may not, do good to the economies of these countries. That's how come today's meeting has become very crucial. President Akufo-Addo, when the U.S. Vice President came in, accepted the invitation to host this all-important conference. And for that reason, we have the 12 countries that have access to the Gulf of Guinea all present here. The President of Nigeria, Buhari, is expected to deliver a statement on what Nigeria is doing. President Akufo-Addo, who is chairing this meeting, is expected to lead his colleagues through the deliberations and then come up with workable solutions that they will communicate to the United Nations Security Council that will constitute the way forward in dealing with this matter. Last week, for example, remember that when some fishermen, the Fishermen Association of Ghana, paid a courtesy call on President Akufo-Addo here at the Jubilee House, one of the things that they put across was the fact that they are now unable to fish beyond Ghana's waters. The claim is that around this time, the fish will all travel to Benin. So they have license to fish in the Benin waters. But because of activities of the pirates, and in fact they made a point that some of them have come so close, as close to the Ivorian capital Abidjan, where they had received information before meeting President Akufo-Addo that they had seized a ship, and it's become very difficult for them to continue with their trade. They actually requested that President Akufo-Addo speak to the Benin authorities to allow the Navy, the Ghana Navy, to provide some kind of protection for them when they go on fishing, and that falls within the region of some diplomatic considerations. So the impacts of activities of the pirates is something we are already feeling at home, and so therefore there's a need for the leaders to step up and be counted and take decisive decisions that will protect the Gulf of Guinea, because we are already the countries are also dealing with the insurgents of the jihadists and others. If this is allowed to gain root, there will be instability, and that's the reason for this meeting this afternoon.
Thank you so much. A very detailed information the presidential correspondent Elton Broby has delivered to us. We'll leave it here for Elton to focus on the meeting that's happening between President Akufo-Addo and some other heads of state of countries that border the Gulf of Guinea, and in considering issues of piracy. He will bring us updates subsequently, especially on what the resolutions are. Let's have